I just took a DNA test, turns out I'm 100% that bitch. Even when I'm crying crazy, yeah, I got boy problems, that's a human in me. Bling bling, then I saw him, that's a goddess. And you could have had a bad bitch, non-committal. Help you with your career, just a little. You're supposed to hold me down, but you're holding me back. And that's the sound of me not calling you back. Rhyming great, till they gotta be great. Don't text me, tell it straight to my face. Best friends set me down in the salon chair. Shampoo press, get you out of my hair. Fresh photos with the bomb lighting. New man with the...
Welcome to Flow State. It's me, Taylor, and him, Damon, and we are going to be answering some questions that CS Joseph's Patreons have asked him in his Discord server that he has not responded to yet. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can't help out and offer some more timely customer service in response to these.
All right, so you want to give the first question a shot here? I'll read it out.
Yeah. Start where you want.
All right, so let's go ahead and go with the first question. Can SC inferior manifest as sexual dysfunction, such as ED and PE? Does FE respond poorly to FI anger? So let's address the first one first, which is, can SC inferior manifest as sexual dysfunction? Okay, so, all right. So I am not entirely familiar with CS Joseph's four sides of the mind system, but I can tell you that most systems are focused around cognitive processing or information metabolism. It has very little to do with biology. Unless you're subscribed to the idea that sperm carry personality type, I don't think this would be anything to do with biology. So as far as this is concerned, the answer is a pretty straightforward no. It does not have anything to do with that. And in fact, someone who is SC inferior, such as IEIs or ILIs, can often be the most sexually oriented types in many circumstances. So more so IEIs than or ILIs, but very commonly, it's also very probable. There's no actual empirical evidence that would include that somebody of a personality type would be more dysfunctional than another.
So my more anecdotal response to that would be that neither of us nor CS Joseph is a doctor, and ED or PE, I don't know what PE is.
Neither do I.
There's any number of things that, blood pressure to booze to anxiety. I know that anxiety is something that will affect people there. So I suppose to the extent that an inferior function is a conscious source of anxiety, that could be an interference if you're not relaxed. But that's sort of I have to work to make that reasoning fit.
Yeah, you would have to try pretty hard, considering that
right.
SC in the inferior super id block, if we're looking at Socionics model, is a place of fulfillment, not a place of struggle. It's a place of valued information.
You're right, that's true. So yeah, probably not. Probably there's something medical. You're on something, or you're stressed.
I mean, I'm sure there's some random correlation that would justify that case in some way, shape, or form. But again, we'd have to really pull at straws to find it. I think it's just completely... Of course, if you subscribe to this four sides of the mind bullshit, you'll probably find that there is some correlation between enlightenment and sexual dysfunction.
Which I don't think either of us do in the slightest. I will tell you that there is a strong correlation between ED and mescaline-based ecstasy. So don't take that shit. It will fuck up your night.
Okay, so the next question is, does FE respond poorly to FI anger? This is a pretty poorly phrased question because it misconstrues the entire essence of what FE and FI are. So without making this a long answer, Taylor, do you want to just address that?
I want you to give the fast version of the long answer.
All right. So FE is emotions. That's both internal and external, expressed or unexpressed emotions. FE is awareness of the dynamics going on within somebody, whether it's self or others. So there's no such thing as FI anger. When one expresses, it comes from a place of FE. FE is all about the expression or excitable energy inside of an object. FI is simply relations between objects or people and or people to an object. So when there is no such thing as FI anger. That is a very common misconception, but it does not exist. And so that is a poorly phrased question. The answer is, does FE respond poorly to FI anger? FE is not also an entity in itself. FE is, it is a piece of information that is metabolized. So the question I would assume you're asking is, does someone who values FE respond poorly to someone who values FI? And that would probably indicate that no, not always. It depends on the type and the interaction between the types, because strong ethical users have both flexible use of FE and FI. That's the short answer to the long answer.
So if FI doesn't have an anger, how do you explain ESI's brand of whatever the fuck that is when they get mad?
Okay, so any expression is FE, right? So if you look at ESIs, right? There's what I would assume is if you have a lot of interaction with the ESI, it's not necessarily an explosive type of anger. It is a more controlled, directed focus anger, because the FE information element isn't valued, it's subdued. So it works in the background. So it may appear as more passive aggressive, yet enforcing and strong and assertive at the same time. There is a sort of deliberateness to it, but it may not be open, like as in, I'm just going to yell at you. It may appear to be, you can tell I'm pissed off, but I don't have to express it because it's a subdued experience. It's still FE though. It's just subdued. They're still feeling it. The awareness of that emotion is still an aspect of FE.
Check out my little alien.
Oh, that's sweet.
My daughter gave it to me. I don't know where the fuck she got it from, but it's kind of cool. So anyways, so that is a better answer than, I mean, that's a very good answer.
Yeah. The SC is just the enforcing part of it. It's just you're using it as a tool to enforce such distance or relation between two people. So you're going to apply that pressure or force and not an FE related way.
And I guess I'll go ahead and take a stab at what I think the question was more asking: do FE ego types respond poorly to FI ego type anger? And in my experience, no, they respond very well to it. FE egos attend to other people's emotions, so I would think they're one of the better types at handling that.
Right. And we're the other way around, probably would not be as accepted. So
right.
FI ego would not like the FE being expressed because they tend to want to subdue that, where FE is much more focused on one expressing and creating an atmosphere of their own extroversion and their own emotions being pushed out. They would appreciate that, even though you won't see that much from an ESI, for example, because they tend to subdue that expression, and instead they want to enforce it and assume that you understand where they're standing without actually expressing
it. Next question.
Can question.
You hear this playing? Is that too loud?
I can't hear it. So how do you call out a beta quadra person without getting door slammed? An INFJ not being disciplined and righteous. Okay, so this is a weird question.
Well, if you're calling out a beta ST, you're not going to get door slammed. You're going to get enthusiastically addressed.
Right. Enthusiastically is the right word. Whereas with an INFJ, if you are trying to tell an IEI not being disciplined and righteous, well, the question is INFJ not being disciplined and righteous, as in they're not disciplined, or they're trying to discipline and you're telling them not to be disciplined? Without getting,
I think they're trying to avoid them being. I don't know.
It's a good question. I mean, I can't.
I mean, they're not necessarily disciplined, but they are righteous.
Yeah. So I could say that if you're trying to call out an IEI, it depends on how you're doing it. If you're doing it in a TISE way, they're going to be very much more open to that than being more an FI way. So it depends on who you are and how you're communicating, because if you do it in the right way, they're very suggestible to correction. And they can be a little stubborn on their thoughts, and there's a little stubbornness, but it can easily be squashed with enough logic and enough force that they're suggestible to force. In fact, they actually encourage it. They want their ideas to be proven. They want to throw them out there and to see if they withstand scrutiny, and they want to be corrected. But if you don't want to do it in a pragmatic way, this is how things should be done to optimize. They don't appreciate that. They're not going to appreciate that approach because it goes directly after the vulnerable function. This is not the work that you need to be doing kind of thing. They will not take that lightly. So it depends. If you're trying to correct their actions, you're going to run into a problem.
Yep. Okay.
What careers in the tech field are suitable for INTP, ENTJ, and ENTP? By this, I'm assuming you're meaning LII, LIE, and ILE.
Because we are responding in Socionics, if we didn't make that clear.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that's what you're meaning by this. And can LIEs and ILEs be good programmers? Okay. So what careers in the tech field are suitable for each of these types? INTs in general are a part of the Researchers Club. So they want to they indulge in research, and they indulge in taking in vast amounts of information. The alpha NTs, specifically the ILE and the ILI, or not the ILE, but LII and the ILE, those two types are going to be more focused on abstracting information, whereas the LIE is going to be more focused on optimizing information. So there's two aspects here. The LIE is going to be more in position to find a larger managerial role. They're more interested in being independent and not being subjected to someone controlling their independence. So they will probably be better in a consultative role or moving up in some type of management position, even to a chief information officer or a CISO, chief information security officer. That's probably the best place for an LIE, is getting out of the day-to-day that would drain the crap out of them. Whereas the alpha NTs that you're referring to, they're going to be more interested in abstracting pieces of information. So taking some type of model and making it better. So yes, they could all be good programmers. Programming is pretty suitable for most types. It tends to draw in more alpha NTs than other types, but alpha and gamma NTs can be effective programmers. So
and a programmer, sorry,
go ahead. No.
A programmer, because I'm not familiar with the IT industry really, except for when I fucking forget my passwords at work. But programmers are more entering code, right? Isn't programming more of sort of a repetitive nuts and bolts?
So, to an extent, there's also a creative abstraction element, which is there's a sense of reduction, which is a very TI oriented thing, right? So it's like you can write 5,000 lines of code, but if I can reduce this to 300 lines of code, then there's a reduction aspect. Is this necessary? So in fact, LIE Bill Gates feels that programming everyone should learn because it teaches one how to think. That is a quote from Bill Gates. It teaches one how to think.
That makes me want to learn how to do it now.
It teaches one how to think logically because it's built-in logic. And so there's an aspect of it that you can learn reduction, and you can also learn, does this make sense? And you can look at case scenarios and see what rules out another. It's very TI, and there's a huge aspect of TE to it to optimize it. So it's a very logical field. It doesn't mean that only logic people can learn it, but as far as this question is concerned, NTs do really well with it because there's a sense of creativity, high levels of extroverted intuition to explore potential within a program and to see where that potential may lead, which is introverted intuition. So how is this going to pan out over time? But it's mainly an extroverted intuition, specifically programming, because it's about exploring the intuition of potentials when it comes to that particular application.
Next question. How can you tell if somebody's shadow focused? They're not, because that theory doesn't work.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense. Is there a lecture that covers that? You don't want one.
You don't want one. I mean, the model doesn't. There's no reason given for why or how frequently somebody would flip over to start focusing on their shadow. It's just explained as, well, some people are shadow focused, some people aren't. Sometimes you switch to. I mean, it's completely random in its causation.
Yeah, I think there's some fascinating points to the shadow, but it's not something that someone can be shadow focused. That kind of defeats the entire purpose of in a shadow.
Right. It's a 4 sides thing. It's like,
yeah.
Where
I don't think your personality type is going to
I
change.
mean, I could be a shadow focused INFJ, right? Or no, shadow focused ISTJ.
You're what is a super INFJ? What he calls it? I don't remember what he calls it. Different names. But super ego, you're a super ego IEE. You're whatever. What is it called? A mirror SLI.
There's the ego, super ego. So we've got ENFP, super ego.
Yeah.
Subconscious and unconscious. I get those two mixed up. I can't remember which one is which. I think our unconscious is INFJ and our subconscious is ISTJ, but I'm not for sure. Either way, the model's too wishy-washy. It doesn't have any. There's not a grounding principle to hold on to. You just kind of choose how to position people when you want to. So.
By the way, whoever's watching this, there's a video that Taylor and I did a while back on his Patreon. Make sure to get on his Patreon, donate some money, because him and I cover more of C.S. Joseph's model in detail. So make sure to subscribe and make sure to get on there in any tier, I believe. Is that right?
That one is, yes. I can't remember. I think I had that one set to $5 and up tiers, but I can't remember. I'm going to set it to any tier, so that's available to any tiers. Nice memory.
Yeah, so make sure, guys, to subscribe to that if you want to know more details about Socionics versus C.S. Joseph system and why Socionics is just more reliable in general. As far as the next question, which was is there a difference in how being affiliative manifests in SJs versus NFs? So I am not a fan of this type of categorization. It's a Kersey categorization, which NFs are the idealist apparently, and SJs are the guardians. And to me, it does not capture the essence of the types. The quadras is the best way to develop, or at least distinguish, the difference between the types because of shared values. Trying to categorize IEE and EIE and IEI and EII as the same type is kind of makes sense, but then when you get into SJs, that does not make sense. It's just a
I agree completely that Socionics quadras are a lot better grouping than Kiersey's temperaments.
If we look at this, though, is there a difference in how being affiliative manifests in SJs versus NFs? So let's look at it in the socionic sense and just say, let's look at the 8 types that this covers, right? So you've got 2 in the delta for the NFs, and you also have 2 in beta for NFs, right? In SJs, you got 2 in alpha, and then you have 2 in delta. So delta, specifically, delta is going to be much more interested in social and emotional bonds than alpha. Okay, unless there's demonstrative FI, even then that's not as valued. Alpha and beta are the ones that value open emotional expression. So even anger, frustration should be expressed so that one knows where you stand. Specifically, the NFs have a difficult time forming their particular sentences to make sense for others. So they feel the need to express further to be able to get for others to get their meaning. So the challenge with it is that if one is expressing, somebody be off-put by that expression, where they want to say, look, if you don't understand and get my meaning, then I want you to feel my meaning. So here I go, I'm going to lay it on you. And that's a very alpha and beta thing, more beta than alpha because of the push with SC. So you have an FESC push. So the idea of relations or emotional bonds, if that's what you mean by affiliative, is that these two quadrants, alpha and beta, are not going to value that much. So that includes what you would consider an ESFJ or ISFJ are not as focused on these bonds as the delta quadrant would be. On the other hand, the NFs, the same thing. The IE and the EII, they very much value these bonds. And so you're going to see this quadra have a lot more interaction with these bonds, specifically the EII and the IE, because of the high emphasis and strength on these emotional bonds. Although 4 types in that quadra, all 4 of them value it. With the NFs, only 2 of those will value the relations aspect of it, and the SJs, only 2 of them will value the relations aspect. So that's why I don't like this categorization, because it's picking at different quadrants that share entirely different values. So difficult question to answer in a very short period, but at the same time,
but a good answer.
Yeah.
I was kind of ready to just walk on past that one. All right, next question. Are you still working on love language? Do you think there's a connection between love languages and cognitive functions? Probably a loose one. A correlation.
Not the classical 5. I think there is a love language of each quadra. Like, I think Victor Galinko was on to something when he had brought up the romantic styles of the quadras. But
so beta quadra's love language would be BDSM.
I mean, yes, to an extent, right? It's the traditional romantic courtship, the pursuing of one's challenge, taking one's trophy and one's prize, being able to conquest and being able to bend someone to your will, and being able to, the classical definition of romanticism. Whereas with alpha, there's a lot more of the, do we have a good connection? There's the infantile aspect of it, right? It's like more of one of us is the parental figure, and you'll see that a little bit in delta as well. And then one of us is a childlike figure, and you'll see that. So there's a little bit of correlation, but the classical love languages that you're talking about, physical touch, words of affirmation, and that type of thing, you can try to force that to fit, but you're not going to see that as effectively unless you look at it from a quadra standpoint, because the quadras share the values. But there's also an individual aspect, and some people just prefer different things. But you'll see some similarities within quadra, especially the romantic styles. Victor Galinko was probably the closest at really depicting these styles. And I think that those styles actually make a lot of sense if you look at quadra values.
I'm not super familiar with the love languages, but I don't think that, like, words of affirmation, I guess that would be more infantile. I don't know. It just seems like it's the one isn't defined in a way that's easily, one's numbers and one's letters, sort of. Like, you can't really split those up very well. If that makes sense.
Tough. It's tough because there's 5 traditional ones. I'm trying to remember: gifts of appreciation, words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time. There's one more missing. I don't remember what the other one is, but there's 5 of them, and they're trying to draw a correlation would be a vast waste of effort, because the connection between the 2 would not be worth the time. I think it's better to look at.
That's probably the best answer. Trying to draw a connection would be a vast waste of effort.
All right.
Last question. This is the last question. Wow. How do I help my brother, an ISFP, to find his passion? I'm an INFJ and his younger sister, and need humility to attract men, and men need nobility. Did I copy and paste that right?
How do I help my brother to find his passion?
I'm his younger sister, period. That's the end of one.
I need humility to attract men, and men need nobility to attract women.
That's the start of another one. Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's answer the first one first, which is, how do I help my brother, ISFP, to find his passion? Okay. So you want to go after this?
I'm just sort of thinking through it. I don't know if, I guess I don't have an answer. I've got a lot of experience with ISFPs relatively, and I don't think that you do find it for them. They'll find it. And they'll do it in their own fucking precious sweet time. And if they have long stints of laziness in the meantime, that's what they're going to do. But I think that the desire to hand off a passion, especially to an ESI or ISFP, is misguided. It won't work.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if this person is an ESI, I'm really skeptical of calling an ISFP an ESI. It's just,
Yeah.
they're not the same at all. So it's hard for me to say that even if this person is an ESI, it's unlikely that they're an ISFP. But
well, even if they're an SEI, I don't see really. You just can't you can't give people passions.
Yeah, I think the only thing you can do is encourage them to do shit.
Right.
And see if they figure out what they love. I mean, I don't think very many people found their passion sitting in their basements and not really doing shit. It's just, unless it's a gamer who just loves to game. I just don't think very many people find their passion by sitting alone in their room by themselves and not really doing anything.
I hear porn's pretty addictive for some people.
Yeah, porn's their passion, and that's one thing. But you want to partake in porn. You don't want to just watch it. If you're going to do it, go do it. All right?
It's not a lifestyle.
I'm an INFJ and his younger sister. I need humility to attract men, and
okay, no.
The
INFJ thing is with the ISFP. So now we're starting. I need humility. If I need humility.
Okay.
It should be if I need humility to attract men, and men need nobility to attract women. Should women focus on their subconscious first, and men their shadow? And I just posted a video on this. Please go back and watch it. It's the one right before this.
The premise is wrong. That's the ultimate thing to this question. The premise is wrong.
The premise is wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, just a shorthand, you need to watch the video that Taylor posted. It's worth all 40 minutes. So go through it because that will address this question in the fullest detail of why the premise is wrong. The second half of the question is where your focus should be. If you're trying to attract men and men need the ability to attract women, okay, so these are two different things, right? Well, first off, men don't need nobility and women don't need this whatever.
Humility.
Yeah, that's not how people are attracted to each other. So I'll let Taylor debunk that in that 40-minute video. So when you go back and watch that, then subscribe to the Patreon to get the second half of it, which is going to be released soon. So make sure you go ahead and go on the Patreon of Flow State and get that done.
And if you got questions, comments, concerns, lottery picks, whatever, leave them in the comments. I respond to damn near every comment.
So that's going to be my answer for that because second part, I do have to say this focus on subconscious and shadow shit is bullshit. It's a complete and utter bullshit. Something is called unconscious because it's unconscious. Something is called subconscious because it's beneath conscious attention. It's not this idea of something that you can bring to fruition on your own volition. And it's complete bullshit. The only way that you can tap into these aspects, in my opinion, is through deep meditation. And even then, it's not conscious. It appears in series of archetypes. It's not something you can directly manipulate, or else it would be conscious. The entire theory is bullshit, and that's my addition to that.
And that's another big issue. I mean, even ethical issue that I have with the four sides of mind theory is, in there. Your best version of your type is your dual. So the best ESTP I can be, or SLE, is going to be an INFJ. So it's got people trying to be what they're explicitly not,
right?
In a really roundabout way. That's not only a waste of time. It's working for the wrong thing. And yes. I know because I've met people in Discord and shit. It fucks people up when they try too hard to swim, but they're a bird.
So the whole point of this is like when you look at this four sides of the mind bullshit, right? And I don't know, unconscious, subconscious, like you said, those two are mixed up. Either way, let's look at the superego because we can pair that with Socionics quite easily, right? Superego is the block that is in Socionics that is specifically about a critical aspect, whether in your own mind or what's expected from you, that you know you need to provide, and yet you don't want to. It's something that you feel that you have to do, but you don't want to do. And when you are trying to be that way, then you are literally being the opposite of who you actually are. See, what happens is what brings people the most peace in life, what brings people the most fulfillment is the super id block. It is not going to be more of your super ego or your id block. That is not going to give you any more peace or sense of peace in your life. It is a critical pain point that you learn to find peace with. But the key to success with happiness, in my opinion, is being accepting of who you are and what your faults are, not trying to be a fucking complete human being who's perfect in every aspect. That is where peace comes from.
You're already a complete human being.
Yeah.
You just need to figure out how to be you. You don't need to figure out how to be somebody else. So once you come to terms with yourself and accept yourself and figure out how to be yourself in a way that's accepting of you and not rejecting of you in pursuit of somebody else, that's when you're there.
Right. It's like you're suppressing a percentage or a part of your personality, trying to strengthen all 8 functions. It's insane. It's like, it's absolutely insane. There's no reason to do that. You accept your weaknesses and move forward. You focus on your strengths, become better at what you do. And that's what you should focus on. If you're good at something, just do that. Stop trying to make up for all your weaknesses, because you'll find that in life you have dozens and dozens and dozens of weaknesses and a couple strengths, and you can spend your entire life fixing all these flaws, or you can just enjoy doing what you're fucking good at. It's just,
and I mean, if you got rid of your weaknesses, you don't have strengths. You need the dark to see the light. So appreciate your weaknesses, because without them, you don't have any strengths. You're just a bland blob of 3D print gel or whatever the fuck they make shit at you.
Yeah, you're just a fucking amoeba. You just don't have
an amoeba, right? You're an egg that the sperm's consciousness goes into with the meat and bones, or however you phrase that.
The real question is, if you've mastered all 4 sides of your mind and you bust a nut, does your sperm have all the personalities and it is completely enlightened, or is your sperm like not enlightened and it starts?
I mean, I think at that point, what you're doing is basically just bending over and jerking off into your own face.
Yeah, you love yourself so damn much that you just jerk off into your own face.
4 sides. 4 sides, so good.
Yeah, I don't need anything else. I've got the 4 sides. But I wonder how pure those sperm are going to be. Are they enlightened sperm?
Oh no, but I need a cigarette after that 4 side.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is it that? Because that's the important question. That's the question that we really need to ask: is what did the sperm's life cycle start over, or are they enlightened too because they carry your genetic code?
And I mean, they're conscious. If
they're conscious,
sperms already have if they already have consciousness, we've got a whole load more responsibilities than we've been, fulfilling.
We've been killing all these sperm all these years. No Nut November was the best thing that ever happened to humanity.
What the fuck is up with No Nut November?
I don't know. It's just a bunch of shit where I guess a bunch of people followed this collective ideology that no one was nutting in November.
I don't know where people come up with this shit.
It used to be No Shave November, and then all of a sudden
I remember that. That was reasonable because it was silly and there's no real point to it. But No Nut November, I don't know.
I mean, somebody stretched it to the next level, and then they had this idea of...
But people are serious about it, right? Like,
oh yeah, it's a real thing.
Like, and I think that there's part of my brain that rejects that reality that people are taking this seriously.
Yeah, I really learned about it a couple days ago, and then I realized today's December 1st, and it's just like everybody's like celebrating.
Oh my God.
No Nut November is over.
Oh my God, the sperms. Think how many sperms died today.
Yeah, it was a mass murder because they all have
Kleenex stock just skyrocketed.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to check the stock price on Kleenex.
Yeah. All right. That's I think that's all we got. That's all the Patreon questions. If you found this useful, please like, subscribe, check out the merch, Patreon, just all the things, do all the things. And so hopefully this was useful and offers at least alternative perspective to the one you were looking for, which in our opinion is a damaging one. So
yeah, the 4 sides of the mind, cut that out. Just accept your weaknesses, love your strengths, be
and
the
come
best.
over to Socionics. We'd love to have you.
Yep. Screw the rest. All right. Subscribe to that Patreon. Get it done. No more excuses. Everybody can, if Taylor's producing content, everybody can at least donate $1 to watch this shit. Don't be broke. Don't be a bum. If you're donating, donate. If you're not going to donate, that's okay. Just don't be a piece of shit. All right.